It's Thursday morning. Just drinking champagne. It is the eve of the return of one of my favorite tracks to play, Keeneland, starting Friday. We'll be talking a little bit about the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 here, Andrew. And but I know you're going to want to take some like humongous victory lap here because your like 1-9 favorite or whatever won the Florida Derby. So I will.
Yeah,
give you a little-
yeah. My thank you. Yeah, the
Oh,
except it's not my 1-9 favorite in the Florida Derby. It's my 15-1 shot in the Kentucky Derby with the bet that I placed in November of last year. That at the time was just an okay bet, but has aged really, really well, considering he's going to be 2-1 or 5-2 in a couple of weeks when that 20 horse field goes postward on the first Saturday in May. I am, of course, referring to Forte, the winner of the Florida Derby. There was also a really nice horse that won the Arkansas Derby named Angel of Empire that I know got a lot of people's blood going with the way that he did that. Those, I know there are people out there that like Tapit Trice. I know there are people out there that like Practical Mood. Both of those horses are going to be running this coming weekend. I think those two horses are head and shoulders above the rest of the crop.
the two that ran this last weekend?
Yes.
Interesting. Um, yeah, I was just absolutely sick watching Forte just loop the field and win. I hated every second of it. I just was just gritting my teeth, and I was just like, I had so much. I was going to text you. You may have not talked to me for the rest of the weekend.
Nah.
But yeah, unfortunately, the 0.3-1 horse wins,
Yep.
and no one's happy about it. Well,
Hey, in all honesty, I had Mage in a couple of different contests. In the Trust the Profits contest that they're running, I had the exacta both ways, and it would have paid significantly better had Mage hung on. Mage not holding on wound up costing me dearly in another contest as well. Mage, by the way, pretty serious racehorse. Let's talk about that. He did not break well at all in the Florida Derby. And while I'm a little worried about the fact that in two turn starts, he's found trouble twice, there's talent there. Forte wasn't running down some bum that didn't deserve to be there. Mage is, I think, a legitimate top 10 3-year-old this year with the talent that he's shown in such a short time. Forte was not necessarily impressive as far as time goes or margin of victory, but the way that he did it is something you're not supposed to see with a horse breaking from post number 11, going 1 1/8 at Gulfstream Park. That post is the definition of prohibitive. If Todd Pletcher hated the post, so did I. He knows way more than I do about his horse. Just throwing that out there. Him getting up solidified his status to me as the clear Kentucky Derby favorite. Angel of Empire is a really nice horse. We'll talk a lot about him. He's the clear number 2 for me. I just think Forte breathes different air.
I'm just sick still talking about this. I will pat myself on the back a little bit though, because
For what?
For telling you that Mage was going to be second choice in this race.
Okay.
When you were like, he's 10-1 in the book, and I'm like, he's going to be like 9-2.
All right. While that's true, that is not what I was asked. I was asked for bigger than 5-1 on the morning line. I gave out a horse that was 10-1 on the morning line, and I got yelled at. This is another example, kids, of the fences being moved back anytime it's me trying to do something. This is a conspiracy akin to when Chris Jericho was robbed of the WCW Cruiserweight title by the returning Dean Malenko under the mask of Cyclope, and he went to the Washington Monument with a conspiracy victim sign over his head and talk to some of the loonies that were there who were loony even before the loonies now. Like
Hmm.
these people were probably ahead of their time. They were probably the mothers and grandparents of people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Yeah, just saying. It's not easy being me, folks. It's really not.
So you know what's kind of funny though? I'm sitting here and I have our, I guess, recording software or whatever we got here, and so we do graphics from time to time, and I have some old ones up, and remember this one,
Yeah,
55 to 1 on Angel of Empire as my under the radar
good
horse.
on you.
Yeah, too bad I did not bet that. I will say I did get a little bit of money down on, um, thanks to some assistance from various people who live in Las Vegas. I got some money down on the Japanese horse at 25 to 1.
Okay.
All the offshores have him much shorter. I think he's going to be shorter when the gate opens. I thought that was the right price. It was 30 to 1, but went down a little bit after the preps. But that's the only future bet I have. But yeah, I think Mage is gonna get a ton of steam coming through this. With everyone's gonna see that trip. Everyone's gonna see missed the break, and had to use up too much energy, and that's why Forte came back. I'm the morning line favorite for the Derby, having run a 95 buyer, which by the way I hate buyer numbers except when they agree with me. So the 95 buyer coming back, just I love it because it reminds me of a horse like Princess Noor, who just kept on winning and was
Ooh.
just way too slow. And sure enough, once she came up against horses that were running faster numbers than her, she was exposed. So we'll see. I will not be taking a short price on Forte, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe half the field scratches and I change my mind, but we're still a month away. A lot can change. Horses spike fevers and all kinds of weird stuff. Epiglottises get stolen. Poor. Oh, I always forget the trainer. Who's the trainer of Omaha Beach? Richard Mandela.
Richard Mandela, yeah.
Yep. And then he also had another epiglottal issue last year, or was it 2 years ago with
Forbidden Kingdom.
Forbidden Kingdom? Yeah. So
Yeah, he's got Go Rocket Ride coming up on Saturday in the Santa Anita Derby, and that's going to be a fun race
another
because,
glottal thief is going to happen. He's going to win that race, and then all of a sudden, epiglottis
well,
gone.
it's going to be a fun race because Practical Move is in the Kentucky Derby regardless, but a couple of horses in that field need Kentucky Derby points in order to make the field. You look at Go Rocket Ride, he's got 20 points. Skinner is somewhere in the teens. National Treasure, a former Baffert horse now running for Tim Yakteen, has 0 Kentucky Derby points. He needs to run first or second in order to ensure his spot in the field. I just finished up this week's edition of the Pollock Report, and I shouted him out as an honorable mention because he's got a ton of talent, but he's got no Derby points. I can't put a horse that has no Derby points in a Kentucky Derby top 20. So he's got to be first or second to join a couple of his stablemates in the field. It's going to be a fun race on Saturday. A couple of fun races out there. Hit Show drawing post 13 in the Wood. That's not going to be an easy trip for him, even against a field of horses that he should dominate.
And who drew the rail in that race? Wasn't that another horse?
The 7-2 second choice coming out of maiden races, whose name I am blanking on at the moment.
I forgot to. I saw David Aragona had posted.
Yep.
Who's got the worst post, either the one or the 11 out there. But
Yeah,
um,
Tappet Trice in
Tapit
the
Trice, thank you.
Bluegrass was the other one. He draws the rail. I hate that post for him. I absolutely detest it because Todd Pletcher has apparently said he's trying to get some speed into Tappet Trice, which is a good move because if you break slowly and you have to pump on a horse all the way around the track at Churchill Downs, it's not going to end well for you.
Yep.
But you get a running style like that, you get the rail. If you don't break, you're hosed. And Tappet Trice has had some pretty significant gate issues. He may very well be good enough to beat that field, but if he's 6-5, 7-5, the kind of price that I think he's going to be, I think that's an underlay given that A, they want to try to teach him something, and B, he doesn't have to win that race in order to make the Kentucky Derby field. He's got 50 points. He's fine. So that gives me a little bit of pause there. And there are a couple of other horses in that race that I like a little bit better at their likely prices.
Was there anything out of the any other horses outside of Forte or Mage that did anything for you out of that Florida Derby?
Out of the Florida Derby, not so much. I was shocked that WNL ran in that race after drawing post position 12 because he would have been no worse than third choice in the Wood Memorial going back to a track where he won the Remsen as a 2-year-old. I was shocked they kept him in that race. I was shocked they entered him in the first place. And as it turned out, that wound up costing him a spot in the Kentucky Derby because he doesn't have enough points. So not quite sure what went on there. Again, just surprised that he ran, especially after that post position draw. After that point, look, we've talked about Forte breaking from post position number 11. You're not supposed to win from out there. WNL drew post position 12. You're really not supposed to win from out there. I was a little bit surprised they left him in.
I was too. I actually liked the horse. I thought the horse fit on a number of factors, but the post was just basically I think just a death knell for that horse. Yeah, I'm kind of just and I'm just kind of looking at the leaderboard right now. Really, the only other horse I think out of that race that has enough points right now is Cyclone Mischief, and he's
Yep.
15th. So I think he's got 45. He should, if he wants to draw in.
Yeah, if you've got 45 or more, you can feel fairly safe, which is why something I don't think a lot of people have been talking about. That photo for third in the Arkansas Derby, that got reincarnated into the field. Because if he's fourth, he's got 35 points, and maybe he still makes it in. But then he's behind anybody that runs second in the 3 races coming up this weekend, plus the horses he was behind previously. At 45, I think the connections can feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I just need Rocket Can to get wrapped in bubble wrap. That's all I
Because then
need.
you get bourbon, right?
Yes. Well, did Cyclone Mischief also run in the Holy Bull?
Yes, he did. He ran
Well,
seventh
so
as the
I got a
favorite.
backup. I got a backup. I got 2 outs now.
There you go. So does that
So
mean you get 2 things of bourbon or just still the
no,
one?
not just the one.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean it's unfortunate because I think I know we're talking about this race probably for entirely too long, but honestly, the horse that I was kind of impressed with, and unfortunately now basically has no shot to get in unless runs in like the Lexington or something and tries to get those last minute points. Fort Bragg, I actually thought set a decent pace up front, was kind of all alone, and at the top of the stretch, I thought he was going to get it. He was going to get a big check, not necessarily win, but I thought he was going to hang on for maybe maybe third there, and just ended up kind of folding, finishing fifth. Out Not enough points. Is going to need to, like I said, win the Lexington. I think
I
they're
don't
going to be
think they're
done with
going to do
that,
that.
but
I saw an article in the Daily Racing Form saying they're looking at the Pat Day Mile on the Derby
that would
undercard.
probably fit. It'd probably be a good fit for
It's the
Fort
right
Bragg.
spot for him, and it wouldn't be a shock to me if he won that race.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on to the Arkansas Derby, Angel of Empire won that race pretty impressively. I was really high on Reincarnate there, and kind of Reincarnate kind of just ran evenly that race, kind of sitting second the entire
See,
time,
I
and
thought
then
he ran a little bit better than that solely because Oakland's track on Saturday was not kind to front runners, and
hmm
he was pressing the pace throughout. It doesn't look like it was a fast pace, but that track was very closer friendly, and he was the only horse that was involved in that early pace to hang on for a piece of it. I thought he at least showed me a little something in that race. But here's the thing. For as much as you bashed Forte getting a 95 Beyer speed figure, What did Angel of Empire get?
I'm not sure.
I believe it was a 94. And if you look at the final times, even after the Florida Derby was adjusted to be 4 lengths slower than it was. And by the way, horse racing, what the hell are we doing? It's 2023 and we can't time the Florida Derby. Seriously? Come on,
I
people.
wish they would have kept it wrong so that way the number would have been higher. So
Well,
I could bet against them more.
even so, even after they adjusted the time, Forte was faster than Angel of Empire, even with all that trouble. I am not saying that Angel of Empire is a bad horse. In this week's Derby Bubble on the Pollock Report, which you'll probably be able to read after you go watch this, he's second, and I think it's a pretty considerable distance between second and third. Angel of Empire is a really good horse. Brad Cox is a terrific horseman. Flavian Pratt has the mount. He's riding as well as anybody after that slump we talked about at the start of Santa Anita. I think Forte breeds different air. And the other supporting fact there is while Forte was beating Mage, who I think is a very good horse, beating Cyclone Mischief, who Dale Romans was incredibly high on earlier in the year, the horse that ran second in the Arkansas Derby was 58 to 1, rallied from ninth of 10 on a very closer friendly racetrack to be second. That's King Russell. I don't think Angel of Empire beat as much as Forte beat. And I think he did so with a picture perfect trip that played into the way the track happened to be playing on Saturday afternoon. I'm not saying Angel of Empire is a bum, but some of the chatter on Twitter that talked about how Forte's lead at the top of the division was somehow in jeopardy, I don't subscribe to that. And I know I was debating with some people that I greatly respect. David Aragona was very high on Angel of Empire and Mage. There was this guy, Cherry something or other, that didn't particularly care for the way Forte won that race. Think you know him, Josh.
Hmm.
But Forte has now won 4 Grade 1 races at 3 different racetracks and has done so without the benefit of picture perfect trips. What hasn't he done? That's an honest question.
Impressed me.
Well, you're just the other thing, and honestly, kidding aside, Josh, this might be the slowest group of 3-year-olds we've seen in quite some time on the whole. It's not that good. And even if Forte isn't a super horse, and I'm not saying he's a super horse, I'm not saying this is American Pharaoh or Justify or anything like that.
Let the record show Andrew just called Forte a super horse.
Yeah, right. Yes. Once again, fake news, fake news. But he doesn't have to be anything super in order to be the best of his crop. And I understand we don't want to say that a horse that's running buyers in the mid to high 90s is at the top of his crop. The horses running triple digits don't exist yet, Josh. They haven't grown into the horses that can run triple digit buyers
I'm pretty sure Two Phils has a triple digit buyer.
on dirt, on dirt, on
Practical
dirt.
Move? Has Practical Move got a triple digit buyer?
He did, yes, in the San Felipe. Good
Okay.
horse, perfect trip, though. You watch that race, Hijazi is basically serving as a lead blocker and carrying horses out, and Practical Move has a perfect trip. I think Practical Move is pretty good. I think Angel of Empire is pretty good. But if those two and Forte are 3 of the top 4 or 5 in the division, on a serious note, all snark aside, what does it say about this division? It's not that good.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to say that, and I guarantee you there's going to be somebody in some comment section somewhere taking me to task for saying that, because in horse racing, the problem is never the problem. It's people talking about the problem. Trust me, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt.
Yeah. Looking at the best 3-year-old buyers so far, Money's Gold, obviously Sprinter, and Philly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't really recognize. I mean, Newgate, I think, is done. Hard to figure. I don't even know some of these horses. So yeah, they're just the numbers aren't aren't where they normally
They're
are.
not good. And it's
And
okay. We can say horses on the whole are slow because data bears that out. I'm not trying to bash any horses or any horse people in training. It's just a
look at,
slow crop.
I'm just telling you that that guy, the from the press box, Gene, he doesn't want you to be against horses, okay? Don't say that you're against a horse. Don't call them slow. Otherwise, he's going to come at you,
Eh.
okay?
I have been I the people that come at me for really weird things just at this point I laugh at them. But
Yeah, I don't know. Like I agree with you. Nothing's really, you know, maybe Forte is the best of the bunch, but when these figures are coming back what they are, it just makes him look beatable. I mean, we'll see. I'll definitely be taking a stand against. But we still got a month. Who knows? Who knows what comes out, right?
we
And
got time. We got the 3 races this weekend. We've got the Lexington the following weekend. We'll see what's going on. I mean, it's one of those instances where I feel like we've been waiting for a horse to challenge the 2-year-olds from last year. There was a horse that Brad Cox had that actually gave Forte a run in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. I'm referring to Loggins. Loggins hasn't been seen since that race, and I thought Loggins was a real potential star in that division because he ran giant in that race. If you haven't seen Forte in that race, watch Loggins. Those two are about 10 lengths ahead of the third place finisher. It's just, again, Loggins went to the sidelines. Arabian Night went to the sidelines. Cave Rock went to the sidelines. It's a situation where if you're looking for the type of late blooming 3-year-old, I'm not saying we're not going to see it, but we haven't seen it yet.
something we also haven't seen yet is Keeneland.
Keeneland and the All Turf Pick 3. This is
Keeneland
going
and
to
the
be a
All
lot of
Turf
fun.
Pick 3. We're looking at Friday's card. Obviously, on our live stream tonight, Thursday night, we will be looking at the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 for Saturday, as well as the Derby preps at Keeneland, which is I always get it mixed up. It's not the Lexington, it's the other one.
It's the
The
name of the
bluegrass,
state,
the
the
bluegrass,
Bluegrass
sorry, the
State. Yes.
bluegrass, the wood, and the Santa Anita Derby.
Yep.
So we'll be taking a look at those races along with the Turf Pick 3 for Saturday. But this is Friday, opening day here at Keeneland. I was there last year. It's a beautiful, beautiful track, beautiful
Should have been
facility.
there in 2020. Still a little bitter I didn't get to go.
We'll get you there.
Here's hoping.
But we're going to start up with a nice allowance race here, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Remember, this is a $3 base, 15% takeout. And we kind of see this race pretty similarly. I think we both have, I have as a single A, and you have as a Stone Cold single here, the 8 coffee maker for Wesley Ward and Johnny V, riding here. Talk to me about coffee maker.
Bet against Wesley Ward in a sprint race at Keeneland at your own peril. Coffee Maker is a horse that they thought highly enough of to send to Royal Ascot in June of 2021. Tried in the Group 2 Coventry Stakes, was 8-1 that day. Comes back, and you can clearly see she's had some issues. She ran a couple of times in late 2021. They tried her in the juvenile turf sprint. She was third, beaten a length that day in a real blanket finish. That was a fun race. Has run just once since, but that was a wire to wire score in a first level allowance race at Keeneland that has aged very, very well. Look at the second place horse. That one came back to win. Look at the third place horse. That one came back to win. Wesley Ward circles Keeneland on his calendar. And he does so because of horses like this. And I have a strange feeling that if Coffee Maker runs well, a return trip to Ascot may be in the offing because that's just what Wesley Ward does. He uses these turf sprints as prep races for the horses that are going to Royal Ascot. Now, Wesley Ward has 2 in here. I don't think they're both going to run. Josh, I think we feel the same way about this. Coffee Maker, clearly the best of the bunch. Number 6, Her World, won at Turfway last time out. did so in wire to wire fashion. To me, just looks like a horse that is better on synthetic than on the type of turf course we're going to see at Keeneland. Has some early speed, gets IRAD, but Wesley Ward sometimes plays games at the entry box, and I wouldn't be shocked if her world scratched here and if Coffee Maker was the lone Wesley Ward. And if that's the case, Wesley Ward is sending you a message that Coffee Maker is ready to go. Horse number 8 in race number 6 is the first of 2 singles on my $3 all turf pick 3 ticket.
Yeah, I mean, all the reasons you already talked about is why I'm on Coffee Maker here. I think Coffee Maker is a versatile type horse. If it doesn't get the lead, I think she'll also be fine if she's sitting, a length or two off the front runners. I agree with you. Wesley sees a lot of talent in this horse. Sent it to Ascot. Has only run on the turf. Her world, he sent the turf way for a bit. Broke its maiden in Monmouth, which is not a place Wesley Ward
Did
normally
so
has
in the
horses.
Tyro, though, and that was a $104,000 stakes race. But I'm looking at that and I see a horse that this horse doesn't get the lead, his interest. That was the red flag for me.
But I did have two other horses that I wanted to talk about. Frozen Solid for Brian Lynch is shipping up here from Gulfstream Park. As soon as they cut this horse back on the turf and put this horse sprinting, has done nothing but win. It's 2 for 2 on that off that Gulfstream Park turf. Now it's a different animal, the turf at Gulfstream versus the actual real turf course that we have here at Keeneland. So there's a question mark on how this horse is going to take to the real grass, not the turf or the derf or whatever they have um, at Gulfstream. So only makes it as a B for me. We'll see how I end up structuring this long term, but this is definitely a horse that might make a ticket or two if I structure these pick threes. The other horse that I was interested in was the 3 Nota Bene here for Ian Wilkes and Luis Saez. I think Luis Saez is probably the second or third best rider in on turf sprints in the country. I
You
mean,
might
I
be
don't
able to
think.
say second or third best rider, period. When
Yeah,
that
you
guy
might.
gets hot, there are very few that are as good as he is.
Yep. And this is another horse, right? That was at Turfway, broke his maiden at Turfway, but you know, I mean, he's gone to all the places. He's been at Kentucky Downs. He's been at Keeneland. He's been at Churchill. He's been at Saratoga. Won a nice allowance race at Saratoga. Back to Kentucky Downs, back to Gulfstream, and you know, I think ran a pretty good race here in a similar level allowance last year, going 5.5, and is coming back as a 5-year-old. 15-1 in the book. You and I both said, hey, we both like this horse, so probably not going to get 15-1. But I think if you get double digits, 8-1, 9-1 in that range, I think this is definitely a horse that use underneath, but I think is also got a shot in here if Coffee Maker doesn't fire.
Certainly the kind of horse you want to use in something like a stable duel or something like a handicapping contest. Because look, if Coffee Maker is ready to run, the race is for second. But even if Nota Bene runs second, which I think she could certainly do, that's a positive return on your investment. The only other horse I want to take a quick look at before we move on is number 5, Dressed, who I think may well have been a turf sprinter all along. They stretched this horse out after coming back from a very long layoff, and they did so against some pretty good horses. I just think this horse is a turf sprinter. You look at the maiden race at Arlington, rest in peace, Arlington, from 2021. That was not a bad first out effort. And then a couple starts later, going 6.5 furlongs at Kentucky Downs, she rallies and wins as much the best in a 12-horse field. That was a pretty impressive performance she put on that day. That day's rider, Joel Rosario, sees fit to ride here. Now, there's every chance that Dressed is past her peak and that those last 2 starts represent a horse that just doesn't want to run anymore. But if she wants to run, she's a turf sprinter. and she's done nothing wrong going short on grass to this point in her career. I see 20 to 1, and I think we're more likely to get 20 to 1 on that horse than we are 15 to 1 on Nota Bene. So if you're playing exactas and trying to get a little bit of value out of Coffee Maker, I'd go 8 with 3-5 here and hope that a bomb clunks up to run second.
Fair enough. Let's move on here. The second leg of the Turf Pick 3 is going to be the Grade 3 Transylvania, which serves as race 8 at Keeneland here. You have a morning line favorite, the 11, who Andrew, you're shaking your head because I know this is also your single here, Carl Spackler.
All
Why don't
right. So, Josh,
Yeah.
you know how we play games sometimes with movies you haven't seen?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let me down. What's your favorite Carl Spackler quote?
Um.
Come on.
Hey guys, I'm Carl
Oh,
Spackler. Is that the?
could you please hit the Price is Right losing
I'm
horn
get. I'm
somewhere,
get. Wait.
Tremble, please?
So I'm not sure, but is he the groundskeeper from Caddyshack?
Good save. Good
Okay.
save.
Then the one where he says you can play 9 on it, and then just what does it say? Get high as Jesus off it after.
It's
Right.
stoned to shit on it at
There you
night
go.
is the quote, Josh.
There you
Not
go.
quite what we were looking for, but you did just enough to pass the class. C's get
Something
degrees, folks.
something.
It's
The
okay.
Dalai Lama.
Yeah, big hitter
So
of
I
the
got
llama.
that going for me.
Long, striking. He steps up actually with Augusta this weekend. He steps up to the 18th tee, tears in his eyes. What an incredible Cinderella story. This young greenskeeper out of nowhere, about to become the Masters champion. Oh, he got most of that. It's in the hole. It's in the hole. What a great movie. Anyway, yes. Carl Spackler is a single for me in here, largely on the basis of if he doesn't win, I don't know who does. That last start, that is not a typo in your past performances, wherever you get them from. And before we forget, shout out to Keeneland for providing free past performances by way of their digital program. Thank you. That is an awesome thing to do for a lot of horse players out there. It's not like past performances cost a lot of money, but it's just an additional kick to the gut when you have to pay a couple of bucks just to be able to handicap the card appropriately. And Keeneland has lowered the barrier to entry for that. So well done to Keeneland. But you look in those past performances, turf races are not supposed to be decided by 8 3/4 lengths. That race last out was. Carl Spackler ran the last quarter mile in 23 seconds flat. I understand it was at Gulfstream. I understand he might not have beaten a lot. I see 111 for 6 furlongs, which is not slow. And then I see 134 for a mile. Wow. That is an awe inspiring performance. And he hinted at that in his debut when he was a close up second behind a next out winner, but 6 lengths ahead of the third place finisher. I don't think the last out effort was a fluke. I think Carl Spackler is a very, very nice horse. And I'm not all that concerned about post number 11 because this route in the Transylvania, there's a pretty long run into that first turn. And I think Tyler Gaffleone will have plenty of options from that outside post. If he's 3 wide going into the first turn, I don't think it's a disqualifier. I think he's just a really good horse. I know you're showing Dude in Colorado for reasons that you think maybe Rod Ortiz Jr. should be riding the 11 as opposed to the 12. I happen to think that Erod just had a commitment on the Pletcher horse there, who, by the way, 2 back was third in a grade 3. Last time out, won a $200,000 stakes race. I don't think he's losing a lot of sleep over losing the mount on Carl Spackler when he's riding a horse that's probably going to be the second or third choice. It's not like he's riding a 20 to 1 shot. And hey, when you're on the Kentucky Derby favorite for Todd Pletcher, you sort of have to ride a couple big horses for him in big spots leading up to that race. That doesn't scare me at all. I think Carl Spackler is definitely the horse to beat. And the way that I am playing this pick 3 is I'm singling Coffee Maker, I'm singling Carl Spackler, and I'm spreading in leg 3, which is the 10th and final race of the card on Friday at Keeneland. So horse number 11, race number 8, 3 to 1 on the morning line. Probably going to come down a little bit. probably to 9-5, 2-1, thereabouts. Carl Spackler, absolutely the horse to beat.
Yeah, I think Carl Spackler's going to get just bet to oblivion, which is mostly the reason I'm against him. Um,
I get it. If you're pursuing value, it makes all the sense in the world to look elsewhere. This is one of those where if you play Carl Spackler, you need to single him as opposed to going 2 or 3 deep with some Bs that are going to be bigger prices, because then you're just betting against yourself, and that's not what you want to do.
yeah, I just feel like if I'm using the short price award in the first leg, I can't use the short price or the short price Chad Brown in this leg.
Unless you single, I hear you.
I think even if you single, it might be a bad idea, but I don't know. I mean, I could be, maybe I'm overestimating how much those two horses get bet down, but yeah, I'm going to be against Carl Spackler. I mean, if Carl Spackler beats me. It's, but kind of for some of the reasons I was talking about, I believe it was the two horse last race, has me questioning a little bit, that figure. Yes, I know he won by 8 3/4 lengths, but it's a different course. It's a different animal running on turf at Keeneland versus running at Gulfstream. So I have a little bit of I don't know if trepidation is the right word, but I'm just kind of a little skeptical of that figure being as big. Did have a bit of pace in front of him to run into. I think there is pace in this race, so it might get the same setup. But yeah, the number 12 dude in Colorado, I think has been kind of, is running stakes company twice, and he's got a win in that listed Colonel Liam Stakes. Um, so yeah, I'm just kind of, I think alternative. Hey, Irad stays aboard this horse. He's normally first call for Chad. Not that Gaff doesn't ride for Chad. I mean, he does pretty often. So it could be nothing, right? But I don't know. I just had, if I was going to pick and choose between the two, I'll take the longer price on Dude in Colorado. And then I had a couple of other horses I liked in here. The 7 Mo Stash for Victoria Olivier and Luis Saez.
Oliver,
Or Oliver. Who am I thinking of?
Sir Lawrence Olivier.
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? I'm just like, I'm so
It's
out of
why
it
I'm
today.
here, folks.
Thank you, thank you. I will. I'll drink to that.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
but yeah, Vicky Oliver. Sorry, man. I'm just like, I don't even know how I messed that one
We're
up.
recording this at about 10 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday night, so it's about midnight your time. It's all right. You can be excused for that.
But Mark is the guy who, first of all, I love how Mark catches strays on every single episode we do.
And it's
But second,
rarely from me, so
yeah.
you can fire as
But
many as you
second of
want.
all, Mark is the guy with the pronunciation problems, not me. Anyways, Mo Stash, when I looked on Timeform, which is for me the best figure that you can get from a turf standpoint, um, he's got the best fig. So, you know, sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, Mostache has got the biggest time form fig. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use him 6 to 1. Louis Sai is aboard. I mean, what's not to like here?
I can actually answer the what's not to like question.
Mhm.
I think he's a sprinter. If you look at the last 2 races, yes, he's been running against pretty good horses, but I see a horse that led into the stretch and wound up fading to finish several lengths behind the winner. He's a nice horse. I just think he's better going one turn.
Yeah, but I mean, you would think with Motown or Uncle Mo on top, Smart Strike on the bottom, that distance shouldn't be a problem.
It shouldn't be, but I see a horse that just seems to have a lot of tactical speed. You can argue the best effort came in a race he didn't win when he was second, beaten 3/4 of a length after missing the break completely. And I see a lot of other speed in this race, including the horse that you've got on the screen right now in the form of number 8 Candidate, who I certainly think after the last outstart where he didn't make the lead and was sort of one pace throughout, that he's going to be on the lead here.
Yeah, and the thing I like about Candidate is if you kind of go back and look through some of the other horses that have run in these common races. I mean, Candidate's run the best of them, right? He's got 3 straight wins at, got one at Laurel, one at Tampa, one at Gulfstream. I think the Tampa course is a lot more, um, lot 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 more s lot more similar. It's
Lush
more
is the word
similar.
you're
Yeah,
looking
it's
for. Yes.
lusher. It's lusher, but it's more similar to, what we see at Keeneland versus what
Sure.
we see, Gulfstream. And, he's got those 2 nice wins there, and ran a nice second to Major Dude, who, they tried to get, or they're trying to get in the Derby, I guess, via Turfway, but
Yeah, I haven't seen if they're actually going forward with the Derby. I think that's a mistake if they do it because Todd Pletcher has at least three other horses that are better than Major Dude on dirt. But hey, he ran second to the horse that's allegedly the fastest 3-year-old in the world right now in the Jeff Ruby. So we'll see.
yep. Yeah, so I don't know. I think candidate here is just another one of those price plays. I don't know if you get 10 to 1, maybe it comes down a little bit, but you get a very, very good turf rider in Joel Rosario here.
Mhm.
And maybe this is just going to be the most aggressive horse. I don't know. Although, we all know Joel is not necessarily known as being the super aggressive rider. Funny enough, he
No,
tends
but
to
he's
actually,
got to go here. With
yeah.
this horse, he's got to go.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that this is another horse kind of worth taking a stab with. And then I do have a B horse. And it's really just I don't know. I don't know what we have here, but this is a lightly raced horse, and Mi Hermano Ramon, the 6 horse here. John Velasquez and Mark Glatt teaming up here. Ran fourth in the baffle, which was going down the hill at Santa Anita. Has got a win going down the hill, and we tend to see that these horses going down the hill, tend to want to stretch out a little bit when they're just on flat ground. So I don't think the distance is going to be a problem. Obviously, great grandson of Giants Causeway there, and I think if you kind of look at the speed figures and you kind of see the numbers in the run style, if there is a lot of pace, I think that the here, Mi Hermano Ramon, might have a little bit of a late kick, and uh, might surprise at the price. I mean, Johnny V sees fit to ride here. Johnny V is at that point where he can basically pick and choose his mount. So, I know he was out west for the winter for a bit. So maybe he saw something. Maybe he worked this horse in the morning. I'm not entirely sure. Has been working like a freight train basically since the last couple since the last start. So I don't know. I thought there was a lot to like here for the 6, and I think you're getting the right price. I have him as kind of a B type, maybe an underneath type, but I think is one that you might want to take a look at.
Yeah, Mi Hermano Ramon was an underneath horse for me as well. One other horse that I just want to take a quick look at on the basis of I think this race falls apart. Let's take a look at number 3 and the winner is who, Josh, I think is a horse that at some point you really liked. It might have been the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. I remember you talked about him on a prior
Hmm.
show. This horse needs a meltdown. I think there's every chance he might get it. And if you look at the last couple of races, it's not like he's had a lot of pace to close into, but that's what this horse wants to do. I wouldn't be surprised if and the winner is dead last in the field the first time they come under the wire. The faster they go early, the better this horse's chances figure to be. I don't think he's a likely winner, but if you're playing exactas and tries, I think you want him in the underneath legs at a bit of a price because you know he's going to be running very, very well late.
Yeah, this was definitely the horse that I liked in the juvenile turf.
Didn't run
And
bad that day.
no, and it wasn't until because the juvenile turf was the last race
Yes.
of the day, and I just so happened to get a paddock pass from Mr. Ed DeRosa for that
I
race,
had
and I saw the winner, Victoria Road, and I was just like, as somebody who doesn't know horse flesh at all, that horse walked past me, and I was like, did anybody see that horse? And I went back upstairs to my seat, to the table, and one of the couples we were sitting with, they own horses out in California, and she just turns to me and goes, "Did you see that one horse?" I was like, yeah, I was like, I don't know horses, and that horse looked amazing. And sure enough, ends up winning pretty easy, and saved my Friday at the Breeders' Cup
Well, I
because
don't
I
know
had a.
about pretty easy. That horse won by a nose. If you think that's pretty easy, I want to check
Was
your
it?
heart
Was it
rate.
okay? You see, you remember these races much better than I do. No. Oh yeah, he did win by a nose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just looked at the
Every
PPs.
once
I was
in a
like, what?
while, Josh, I'm allowed to be right. That's in the bylaws of our show.
Yeah. Well, either way, I had a large bet on the horse, so it
Well,
felt
there you
good.
go.
But yeah, I had high hopes for, and the winner is. I think, uh, I, yeah, I don't mind that as an underneath play. There's just others I liked better.
I hear that. And honestly, I think Carl Spackler is a lone A for me. It's just a case where I'm going to have a couple of exactas going in with me, Hermano Ramon, and the winner is underneath. Now, this last leg, I think, is the best betting race of the sequence. I think it is very, very wide open. You got a maiden race, horses going 2 turns on the turf, full field. These are the kinds of races that you'll wait for at Keeneland. You wait and you wait and you wait and you find a horse that in a smaller circuit should probably be 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, but they show up here and they're 10 or 12 to 1, and that's where you make your money.
Yeah, and I kind of keyed in on two horses here in this race. Um, so I have a total of four horses I like in this race. Two of them are AAEs. If they draw in, I will be using. But of the drawn in horses, there's two I really like. I obviously the one I have showing right now is the 8 Little Miss Moonlight here. Timothy Ham, Irad Ortiz sees fit to ride here, and if you kind of look, this horse has got a little bit of seconditis. Um, and but if you kind of look at this horse has been just progressively, I think, working a little bit better, a little bit faster, and I really think that this is going to be a really really good spot for the horse. Going to get a little bit more distance here. Malibu Moon and City of Light, so a mile and eighth shouldn't be a problem here with the little bit of extra half furlong that he's going to have to go, and maybe they think that the horse needs a little bit more distance, but I don't know. This horse has been super close, and sometimes I think, hey, just that switch a rider from Mr. Arroyo or Pablo Morales to an Irad Ortiz. I mean, that's probably worth that half length or whatever he might need to kind of get over the top there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm also a sucker for these big name riders that ride for these. I'm not going to say like smaller barns, but maybe just slightly lesser known barns. Because Timothy Ham has obviously got a ton of horses, right? But it's not. There's Pletcher horses in here. There's Cassie horses. There's you know all kinds of really big name trainers that Irad normally rides for. And hey, he ends up on a Timothy Ham horse. I don't know. I think the horse is live. I'm guessing that the public's also going to think he's live and going to bet this horse down. Um, the other horse I like here is the 6, Heckled. Uh,
Boo! Boo!
are you heckling me, or
Boo!
do you not like the horse?
I love the horse. I'm
Yeah,
heckling you.
yeah. I these are the types of horses that I like betting. Horses that have one or two starts, that have run pretty well in those starts, and you look at the trainer, and the trainer is just got these plus stats, second, third time out. Maybe they bring him along a little bit slower. I don't know, but Mike Stidham, uh, second time going a route is winning at a 28% clip. Second time on the grass is 19% clip. You get Joel Rosario aboard on a horse that is going to get out of the gates, not necessarily, super close up front, but is going to be coming late. And I just think that the rider matches the run style, um, uh, plus move for this trainer. I don't know. I think there's a lot to like for this horse, lightly raced, where you got a couple other horses in here that are going to be shorter prices that probably should have broke their maiden 2 3 races ago. And in that case, I'll take the fresh face. So 6 and 8 are what I'm using of the horses drawn in, and I'll talk about the AEs a little bit later. But Andrew, I'm sure there's a couple that you want to talk about here.
There are. And this is one of those races where if you're the morning line man, you need a couple extra swigs of whatever your preferred elixir is in order to get through this. Your guess is as good as mine, Josh, with regard to which horse goes favored. Because if you look into this field, you see, oh, this horse is going to take money. This horse is going to take money. This horse is going to take money. They all look like they're going to take money. Obviously, that can't happen. And as horse players, we're very, very quick to criticize morning line people when they get it wrong. It is a thankless job. Don't fall into that trap. Just don't do it. More often than not, you're going to look like an idiot unless the morning line person has done something thoroughly inconceivable, like set a morning line without seeing past performances. That happened once on a big day at Keeneland several years ago. Find me in person. I'll tell you the story. Anyway, the two horses you used, they're two of the five that I am using in here. The one that I am playing against, we're going to take a look at this horse and we're going to put a big red line through it. That's number 7, Haystack. It's a Chad Brown horse ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. This horse is going to take money based on that. I'm not impressed by anything I have seen with this horse. Also, needs a meltdown in order to run well. If you look at this horse's races, no tactical speed, needs a lot to go right. I think this horse is going to take money. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this horse winds up going off the favorite, and I am playing against Haystack in this spot. I know I'm not playing against a 6-5 or a 7-5 or anything like that, but you need to throw out at least one logical horse if you're spreading in order to get some equity out of your ticket. The horse that I think is going to take money that merits a long look is horse number 10 in the program. If you could scroll down a little bit, Josh. Horse number 10 is Doral, 3-1 on the morning line. I think that drifts up. I don't think anybody is 3-1 in this particular spot. Second beat in the neck in back-to-back tries at Gulfstream for Hall of Famer Bill Mott. This is a trainer that doesn't ask for a lot first time out. By quality road, out of a mare named Desita, and Desita could flat out run going long on the turf. I think Doral is sitting on a big effort third time out. You look at the workouts, this is a horse that has flashed a lot of potential down at Payson Park in Florida. I think of the two horses that are morning line favorites is the one you don't want to ignore. The other horses that I'll talk about, let's take a look at number 9, Pedigeek, which I believe may be a shout out to Ren Carruthers. That is, of course, the way she became known on horse racing Twitter many years ago. Taught me a whole heck of a lot about pedigree handicapping, too. So, very grateful for that. Last time out, ran a decent second at Tampa Bay Downs. Came from way back and may have moved a little bit too early. Gets Javier Castellano. That's a great rider switch. 15-1 on the morning line. Got to throw that one in. And let's also take a look at horse number 3 in the program. Josh, if you could please scroll up to the first page of past performances for this, the 10th and final at Keeneland. That's Idle Chatter. Second last time out at Gulfstream. Was beaten 2 lengths. Jack Sisterson, not a guy that fires with first-time starters. The pedigree by Justify, so you know this horse wants to go a little bit longer. Leperouse sees fit to ride back. And she started a little slow last time out. Going 2 turns first time out isn't easy for any horse. When you get caught behind the 8 ball and you wind up closing at first asking in a race that didn't have a lot of pace signed on, yeah, I need to throw this horse in. I'm going 5 deep here. 3, 6, 8, 9, and 10 for me. That'll round out a $15 play if you play it for $3. Single spread for me. And we're going against the Chad Brown runner that I think is going to be pretty overbet. But Josh, you've got a couple of horses that need to scratch your two to draw in, but that you think are very live if they run.
Yeah, I think the 15 Rosie Tomorrows. Um, if this horse draws in, and I see Irad's listed on this horse, but I'm guessing his first call is the Timothy Ham horse, but I don't know. I don't have the entries up, so but I mean, all Mike Maker does is train horses to run long on the turf. This is a kitten's joy, uh, and was forwardly placed last time out at Gulfstream. That, like I said, that turf course is just weird. So maybe if this horse is going to show a little bit of speed, maybe it'll hold a little bit better out here at Keeneland. I don't know. This is one that I would definitely want to will bet back again. and I know he was 30 to 1 last time out. This is a horse. If he draws in, I think he might get lost on the board a little bit. It happens with AEs all the time. Maybe I get closer to 8 to 1, especially if there's a rider change from IRAD. So this was of the AEs the one I was most interested in. If this 13 draws in, king making, I mean, he's ran once going long for Wesley Ward at Aqueduct and didn't really do any running. Finished sixth, beaten by 10 lengths. Obviously was going a mile and 16, was going long immediately at 2, which is tough for horses to go long right at 2. He's been off for a little bit, changed barns. Manuel Chavez, I have no idea who he is. Apparently, nobody does because he's got 0 starts in the last
There's
year.
gotta be a story with this horse. Do me a favor. Could you highlight what she sold for at the Tattersall sale in October of 2021? For those,
286,000.
yes. You look at the pedigree by Kingman out of a Lope de Vega mare. You're not going to find turf pedigree much better than that.
Mm-mm.
And this horse was trained by Wesley Ward first time out. Wesley Ward, known for sprinters, not necessarily horses getting a distance of ground. Runs first time out, shows a little bit of speed, fades to finish sixth, beaten 10 lengths. And then we don't see this horse again for a while. Comes back for a barn we haven't heard of. Bunch of works that, well, actually, the only published work for this horse is at the Three Diamonds Training Center, 4 furlongs and 48 and 2. I don't know what to make of this horse. I have absolutely no idea whether or not this horse is sitting on go, whether or not this horse has worked from November to April. I got nothing here, Josh. This is fascinating.
I mean, I just saw that pedigree and I am just like, what is going on with
You're
this
thinking if
horse?
this horse can run at all close to the pedigree, it's got a shot.
Exactly. And it looks like Manuel Chavez has got another horse entered. I just looked him up. He's got another entry running in a claiming race, um, Keeneland on Saturday.
Okay.
So I don't know. Apparently he's had horses in the past, but nothing nothing crazy. I mean, his top earning horse is earned $50,000. So I don't know. It's just wild to me to see a horse with this kind of pedigree just show up in a place like this.
Yeah.
And it's funny because and maybe this is just like recency bias for me, but there's another horse at Gulfstream Park that wanted a big price that I looked at and I tossed. Um, but it was very similar pedigree. It was a Kingman horse, had run once or twice, didn't really do much running, and then all of a sudden just like blew the doors off at a race at Gulfstream at a huge price. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna let a Kingman horse beat me at a super long price. He's 30 to 1 in the book. I mean, if he gets in, he's anywhere near that price. I mean, he's gonna be on my ticket, at least a ticket, and maybe even just like a win bet. Hey, let's see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. It's really odd to see a horse with this type of pedigree just show up for a no-name barn at Keeneland. Like I don't know, it's wild.
Odd is a good word. These are the types of races, though, that you see at Keeneland. You see horses coming from pretty much everywhere, and it's because that meet is what it is. It's a fantastic boutique meet every April, and I'm really excited for it. The $3 all turf pick 3, it's a fun gimmick. For me, the sequence is $15, single, 5 deep.
You
What's
said the
the
word.
what did I do?
You said the word.
What word did I say?
You said it was a fun.
Gimmick. Okay, fine. Got it. Okay. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming after someone has gotten way too happy with the soundboard. 8 with 11 with 3, 6, 8, 9, and 10 for me. It's a $15 play. Again, 15% takeout, trying to go against the Chad Brown horse in the last that I just feel is going to be overbet in what I certainly think is a wide open race. And if we can get the first two singles home, maybe we can extract a little bit of value out of those runners in this particular wager.
Yeah, and then I have my ticket up here. Obviously, my B type horses are in parentheses. I also included the 13 and the 15. So I have it as a $36 plus play because if both horses draw in and I play at least my A's, that's what's going to come out to. I usually probably in this sequence, I usually toss about $50 into it. So I'll figure out a way to kind of structure to have at least one or two tickets with my B type horses in there. But yeah, that at least kind of gives you an idea of how I'll structure my ticket on Friday.
Yep. Friday's card, opening day, fun program. Speaking of programs, again, Keeneland has digital programs available for free on their website. They include Equibase past performances. So if you don't want to pay a couple of bucks for past performances from whatever provider you choose, Keeneland's got you covered. That's a fantastic move. I wish more circuits would follow suit. Just absolutely awesome of them to do that and think of the horse player.
Yeah. What you got going on this week, Andrew?
Oh, busy week this week. Next week, I'm actually going to be in San Diego for a couple of days for a work event. And then a couple of weeks after that, I'm going to be in Atlanta for another work thing. Really going to get a lot of use out of my TSA pre-check. That's for darn sure. But yeah, it's spring break for my fiance at the school she teaches at, so we've been able to do a fair bit. We did an Orange Theory workout together on Monday. My quads are on fire. Yeah, fun thing. When your fiance exercises 6 times a week, you need to get off your ass every once in a while. So that's what I'm doing.
Good on you.
Now I try. I really do. It's a lot of fun to be able to do things like that. And we're of course going to be traveling to Italy together in June once her school year is over. So that's really exciting. We're looking forward to that. I have told her many, many things that I'm sure she doesn't want repeated about the ways I'm going to embarrass her overseas. But Josh, this is the one thing I'll tell you. I don't know if you know this, but there is a gigantic problem in a small village in Italy, about a couple hours away from Rome. Um, these poor townspeople are victims of a building that's about to fall down on them, and the only thing that can save them, the only thing at all, is tourists coming and taking pictures, holding up the building with their bare hands, acting like the heroes we are. How'd you go in there for a minute?
I was going to ask you how WrestleMania was, but
WrestleMania was fine. The 2 days were great. The Raw after WrestleMania, when it was pretty clear Vince McMahon was in charge again, not so much. Cheap plug. Myself, Gino Bacola, Darren Zocali, Chad Cooper did a roundtable of sorts where we talked about WrestleMania and the Raw after Mania. We live in a very strange world where someone can be outed as giving hush money to people to settle lawsuits they really didn't want to make public, go away in bitterness, come back, sell a company for $9 billion, be brandishing this snidely whiplash
that
mustache,
mustache, my goodness.
and be as powerful as ever. What a world we live in.
The most egregious part of all that is the mustache.
Yes, it's the evil mustache. There are tweets out there that say, that have captioned Vince saying, "Make this quick. I need to tie someone to the train tracks at noon." It's just thoroughly bonkers. And whoever told Vince McMahon that was a good idea needs to be the victim of Vince McMahon yelling, "You're fired," in that exaggerated way.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I stopped following wrestling. Although last week you did have me watch the 1990 Royal Rumble.
Yep.
I skipped the undercard rate. The undercard. I was gonna say
It's the Rumble.
races.
You don't need to watch the undercard for most
Yeah,
years. There are a
I
couple
didn't.
of
I
years
didn't
where
need
you
to see
should.
that Bushwhackers. The
Rest in
Bushwhackers.
peace, Bushwhacker Butch, by the way.
Oh
Rest in peace.
God. Yeah, I didn't need to see that Bushwhackers match for the 500th time that I've seen the app. The weirdest part about that 90 Rumble is how Bret Hart gets eliminated and like no one sees it.
Yeah, that happened with a number of Rumbles in the early years before they really knew how to shoot it.
Yeah.
And I'm a TV production guy. I worked for television networks. I know a little bit about how the sauce is made. And it's fascinating to see matches done before TV really knew how to shoot them, where to set up the cameras, all that stuff. It's kind of cool if you know what you're looking for.
Yep. As for me, we got a real big weekend of racing, so I'll be involved in all kinds of pools and who knows
We
what
got the
else.
Masters coming up too.
Yeah, who you got any wagers in there or
I am part of a DraftKings group that
okay.
both of us have access to. I decided to plunk down $20 and do that. Rooting for Scotty Scheffler to win two in a row.
The chalk.
Anybody that serves cheeseburgers at the champions dinner is A1 in my heart. That's, a lot of humility there. I wish we didn't have to deal with a lot of the live nonsense. And I have this sneaky feeling that a guy by the name of Dustin Johnson, whose game is perfectly suited for Augusta National and who has contended a number of times, won the Masters back in 2020 when they played it in the fall. I just can't get this picture out of my head of a live guy winning the Masters and the other live guys trampling their way onto the 18th green. I can't get that picture out of my head.
I have a bet on John Ram to win.
Rom.
Rom, whatever. I don't watch golf, but he's been
But you
hot.
bet on it. That's
I'll
the
bet on
important.
it. I hadn't watched a single game of college basketball, and you better believe I bet on every single game I could.
That's the spirit.
Then I have a sentimental wager, obviously on a Mr. Tiger Woods at 70 to 1. I might as well just burn that $10 up, but hey, who knows?
You got 70 to 1 though. That's the price has come down and it got to where someone at Circa had one of the great quotes of the week when saying, "If Tiger Woods wins the green jacket, a bunch of my people are going to be looking for new jobs." Because there are a lot of sentimental wagers out there on Mr. Woods. I
I
can't
will.
I can't get there with him because all of his trouble has been self-inflicted, but I get it.
Um, I will say that I do give props to Circa because they just have the most aggressive lines out
Mhm.
there. Um, I have a couple friends who bet offshore because they don't have um, legal ways to place their
Public
wagers.
service announcement, kids, be very careful wagering offshore. You're not going to be protected by any of the regulations that legal sports books have here in the United States. If it's me, I don't trust offshore stuff. I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but you've got to be really, really careful if you do that.
I have Tony Finau too.
Oh, he's
I got him
fun.
at I got him at 25 to 1.
He
So
had a
I just
really
had a
good
couple.
quote today in the par three contest. By the way, did you know the par three contest was a thing today?
I did not.
Yes, some people sort of miss that. But Tony Finau had a quote because his son was caddying for him. It's the par three contest. Kids are everywhere. It's cool. But Tony Finau winds up saying something along the lines of, outside of not having tees, giving me wrong numbers, and wandering off the course, he's been a really good caddy.
That's funny.
Par three contest is cool.
So I have a buddy. Shout out, keep pounding, and he. I don't know if he actually bet this or not, but I hope he did. I hope this is a real bet. But he sent a screenshot to a group chat of he's like, "Hey guys, it's gonna rain at Augusta, so I'm betting the Tommies." Which is something if you're a user of DRF, the Tomlinson figures
Hmm.
for wet horses, is something that people look at, right? And short them the Tommies, right? And hey, how are the Tommy figures? So he's betting the Tommies at Augusta because it's going to rain. So he has a bet on every single golfer by the name of Tom.
I've got one of them in my DraftKings lineup. I've got Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood can play, man.
So he's got a bet on every golfer named Tom because he's betting the Tommies on the wet. over at Augusta National.
That's a special brand of degeneracy. I'm not wearing a hat right now. If I did, my hat would be off to you, good
Yeah,
sir.
it was great. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com at wrong_lead.
All the
Like,
buttons down below if
subscribe,
you're
all
watching
the
on YouTube.
buttons.
All of them, all of them, all of them.
And I hope everyone has a good weekend. We'll be live tonight, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. And yeah, have a good one, guys.
Take it easy.